I'll just read it first. It says we are biologically wired to sin. Why is it so hard to do what we were called to do as Christians? And I think I sent that to you at like,
Mhm.
was that like 1:00 your time? It was like 11.
Probably.
I was in
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
And I was with my buddy. His name's Preston as well. He's been my best friend since we were 5 years old. Not a made up character. I get asked that every Sunday. I talk about my boy Preston on Sunday morning. The kids are like, that's just a made up friend. I'm like, no, he's a real person.
Yeah.
And so he's got a wife and 2 kids, and one's 4 and one's a 6-month old. And so I was down in Texas for a wedding and got to stay with him, and we just got to catch up. And I'm not sure, you can edit this out if you want. We were a couple of glasses of whiskey in, and we were just talking, and we just got to talking about his kids and just how he's raising and how they're just responding and reacting and stuff. And we just kind of hit the topic of like, why is it so hard to do what's right? Like from the moment we're born, and like, our brains are just sitting there, like just thinking. And from the moment you're born, like no one has to teach you the word no. Like it's just there, as a toddler, when you don't want something, no, like it's there. You start to get a little older as, a little kid. No one teaches you to hide something when you did something wrong. Like it's just a feeling you have of like, ooh, I know I'll get in trouble for this. I'm going to try to hide it. Like the amount of times that I hid things from my mother and my father as a kid, like no one taught me that. That was just something that I was like, I know that if they knew this, I would be in trouble. And so like, it just started off like, and we just kind of trickled down to when she hit a teenager, like lust is a real factor, and like from the moment you see it, it's wrong. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? But there's something about it that's just, it grabs your attention. And so we just kind of go on this rabbit hole of like, we're just wired to do that. And from the moment we're born, and it's not like, and so that's where it all generated from, was from that night. And so then I think I typed it out and sent it to Corey.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, it was just a good conversation between the two of us. So I thought if I just threw it up in the air and let us all poke holes in it, I think it could be something really cool.
Yeah. I love that so much, just because that is kind of the foundation of why this podcast actually exists, because it just started because Taylor and I were just have these conversations early, like late in the night, early in the morning, of just about random things. So I think just one to point out too is like what an incredibly special thing and good thing to have. I think it's healthy, those relationships where you can have one-on-one real conversations, whether it's over a glass of wine or whiskey or just sweet tea, I don't care. But just get yourself to the point where you can just be vulnerable enough to share honestly. And then just, I think there are a lot of questions out there that we don't have all the answers to right away. And sometimes I think we can just, we put those to the side because they can be challenging, and it's easier whenever everything's black and white. But if you have a relationship with somebody and you have trust, and you can actually open the door on those questions and just talk about them, that's what it's about. Like that's how you grow in understanding and different perspectives. So one, I would just say that's awesome that you have that relationship with your friend Preston and can do those things. I feel very grateful. Made up Preston. I feel very
my
grateful.
Conscience.
Yeah. To just be just on your shoulder, just a little guy. But yeah, you said a lot there.
Well, I have some questions.
Yeah.
I want to ask some questions, right? We are biologically wired to sin. Why is it so hard to do what we are called to do as Christians? So can we just start with like the first half of that of we are biologically wired to sin, right? Like my genuine question is like, are we? Like, is that actually true? Like, I'm not doubting it. I'm just like, are we actually biologically wired to sin?
I would say yes. I mean, just like I was saying earlier, like, no one has to teach you those things, everyone has to teach you, like you learn about Christ, you learn about forgiveness, you learn about doing what's right, or, you know what I'm saying? Like you're taught these things, but the sin nature is yeah, real.
Yeah. I'm so interested to see, because it's different being for all of us, like, but you're about to be a parent and you're going to be
Mhm.
walking through these steps with your child, of how they pick things up. And so, like, right away, I would just kind of poke at it and be like, is a child biologically wired to say no, or is that a learned behavior? And I'm just literally just thinking about, like, and I don't know, like, communicating that you don't want something isn't necessarily wrong,
Sure.
right? So I think even like and like so much of what I have found is like, while they lack the ability sometimes to communicate verbally, so we're always asking them the questions: do you want more peaches? Do you want more strawberries? Yes, no, okay,
Mhm.
no. So we're speaking that into them, and then one day all of a sudden they just start saying no to everything. And I'm 100% in that phase right now. Ruby, she's, you want to do this? No, no. And so now I've had to learn, is like, I'm not going to ask questions, like, we're give her the option to say yes or no for things that we have to do, because
Yes.
like we need to take a bath,
Sure.
like we're taking a bath, so I won't ask that question because she'll just say no, I don't want to, I want to keep, like, playing with my blocks. But the best thing for her to do is to take a bath, and I, as her parent, I'm going to make that decision for her.
Sure.
But to I guess, even looking at that first half of the phrase, and that is not to discredit what you're actually saying and what that statement is saying,
No. Huh?
um, can we actually talk, what is sin? Because if we're saying we're biologically wired to do something, let's define what that something is. So, like, for you, like, in your, through your life and your studying, like, how would you, like, define sin, or what is that?
Yeah. I got that mute came down. I don't know if you
That was
noticed
the
that.
quietest cough ever, dude.
My cursor is stuck on that mute button just in case.
You hit it perfectly.
Is that a
Uh,
Kanye shirt too? Can we just talk for a second?
no, it's a
It looks like a
Elevation
Kanye shirt.
Church. Does it? It's
Ah,
Elevation Church. It's their. We went to their concert. It just says Kingdom, and the back says Heaven looks like you and me.
sorry.
It's a good shirt.
I'm just
No,
getting
you're
into
good.
Kanye right now, so I'm
Yes.
very
Just now.
sensitive. Yeah, yeah,
Praise.
yeah. It's a whole
Oh,
another conversation.
okay.
Sorry.
Heartless. Um,
Dude, Life of Pablo, I'm telling you, that album slaps. Dark Twisted Fantasies, I'm still working on, but like Graduation and Life of
okay.
Pablo, I'm really liking.
Love
Sorry.
that.
Fine. No,
What is
I
sin?
think the overall, I think the overall just kind of umbrella of it would be anything outside the will of God.
Okay.
And I mean, you could peel back, consider it's like, well, if you do a decision that you didn't see God first, is that sin? Obviously, that's not the case, but it's anything that goes against His will, you know.
Mm,
And we're on the kind of on the topic of kids, and very well, like to your point, Corey, like in 4 or 5 months, 6 months from now, when I got a little one, my perspective on that might change.
mhm.
Um, but I was going to ask, like, if your kid, if your kid was like, if you're like, hey, we are going about to go take a bath right now, you're not giving her the option to say no. But if she comes back and does say no,
Yeah.
is that a different context? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I think that becomes and this is also like a great whole wormhole too. It's like, how do we deal with, like, conflict, or with somebody saying no, with her saying no, or like not wanting to do something? And it's tough, but like, I think what I try to fall back on when I'm in my healthiest places is like
Yeah,
is understanding, of saying, like,
sure.
baby, you played outside all day, you had sunscreen on, if we
Mm,
take a bath now, you're going to sleep better. Like, the choice of doing this thing that is right and is good for you will have a fruit
mm,
of something that is positive. um so yeah, but it's not like something that's rejecting her because she says
Right.
no. um
no, I
it's
agree
just it's
for sure.
just it's trying to guide her or give her, the limited ability, but like, they can understand, kids actually, they understand a lot very quickly, um of trying to talk her through towards the point where it's like, but I mean, I sometimes when she kicks and screams, she goes crazy, it's like, okay, can we just put our feet in?
See, the funny thing
Yeah.
is that both of us have kids. Preston does not have kids, but Preston has also worked with kids for the last 9 years. So realistically, he has more experience with children than we
Yeah.
do.
How do you
Right?
deal with a kid that says no?
Oh, geez. No, that's, I would never say that I would have more experience over any parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could read as many books as it is. I could, do as many things. The best I can do is be the best person to communicate with kids
Hmm.
and just say
Love
like,
that.
okay, why is that? And to tell you the truth, I can't even count how many Sundays outside of my room said, hey, I need you to teach for me. I need to talk to this kid. And I spend the whole service just talking to a kid. Be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, you're not answering. You know what I'm saying? And like just building that relationship.
Right.
And
Trust.
it's night or day the next Sunday. It is.
Yeah.
It's there's definitely a trust there, which I think, I mean, this is not every household, but majority of the households, they have that with their parents more than with me.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, there's so much more credit that goes to parents than